Everyone, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Kyosho Mini Z First. What is this? Why does it exist? And is a $50 RC car too good to be true? So I'm going to run this today, take a look at it. I'm going to compare this to the rear-wheel drive Mini Zs and see if should you spend 50 bucks in this RC car, or is it just a pretty body for the shelf? So today I'll be going through the Mini Z First here and comparing it to an MR03. So this is your standard rear-wheel drive Mini Z. A vehicle like this is about 180 bucks. The Mini Z First is 50 bucks. So the first thing to talk about that's really interesting with this is the whole reason why I bought this car personally is because I wanted the body. Because a Mini Z pre-painted body is about 50 bucks. So I spent $50 on this initial D-A86. And I also spent 50 bucks on this A86 body. So granted, they are a hair different, but it's the same car. You can get just the body or an entire vehicle for the same price. That's kind of wild. So I don't really know what the purpose of this car is and why they came up with it when you can either buy the car or body for the same price. So it's basically like you're getting a free RC car if you're interested in one of the bodies that they happen to have on these vehicles, which is kind of cool. But then if it's a free RC car, how well do we expect this to really perform? But regardless, the bodies for the Mini Zs, same as the regular ones. So these will pop off the same way. You kind of just pull out on the sides and the chassis will kind of just pop out the bottom. Now this vehicle does not have any parts out there. You cannot repair this if this breaks. Kyosho does not offer parts. There might be some stuff you can 3D print or something along those lines. But otherwise, this is, they call it an egg. I'm not sure why that terminology exists, but it's an egg model, so it's designed to be its own thing. And I guess when you crack it, that's it. And a cracked egg is a cracked egg. So I'm guessing that's kind of where that has come up with, that terminology. But regardless, it is a very simple plastic chassis. It runs 2 AA batteries. I have some just middle-of-the-road brand new Kodaks that I threw in here. It has a little pop clip on the bottom that will allow you to take this cover off. You can pop your batteries out. Just, get your finger on there, pop them out, and that will allow you to change your batteries. Kyosho says that these will last approximately an hour on a set of batteries, which is a pretty good runtime. And in this, I'm running standard throwaway batteries because standard batteries are 1.5 volts each. Rechargeables are usually 1.2 volts each. So the problem with that is basically a fully charged set of rechargeables is not going to give you the output that a pair of regular AA batteries will give you. And based on the fact that this car is only running on a maximum of 3 volts, I don't want to, short its power delivery. But under here, more so like we have with cheap RC cars, we have a little dial here for adjusting your steering neutral points. We have the motor pod on the back and a T-plate, kind of similar to the other Mini Zs, but definitely a chunkier plastic version of it. And there's no shock or anything up here. It's just the tension of that plastic T-plate is your suspension in the back. The front does have little springs in here. I don't know if you can see them right under here. So the front does have suspension. So it will give you some, but it's not very great. Again, it's a $50 RC car, so it's one of those things, what are we going to expect from this? Kind of weird that this exists. It's very, very toy grade. We're going to see if the steering's proportional, if the throttle's proportional, and see how this thing actually runs. This is the controller they give you with it, which is also a little bit strange. It's much smaller than your standard Mini Z controller, which I guess if the plan is for your first RC car for younger hands, it has a much smaller trigger here, and it might be a little more ergonomic for young hands. Another thing that's interesting is that your steering, like a standard controller, you have quite a bit of throw here. On this controller, you have almost no throw. It's just a wee little bit. So I'm not sure the steering sensitivity is going to be optimal. On the back of the controller, it takes 2 AA batteries in here, so you'll need 4 AA's to run this vehicle. And then you have your on-off switch here, which has a low and a high setting. so you can slow the car down for younger drivers. Another thing that's a little odd on this, which I don't really understand, and the way the website is set up, it tells you it's for a time attack mode and whatnot, but it has a timer built into the controller, which is something that you'll have on a really expensive controller. But even with those, I don't find myself often using it unless I'm at a racetrack. And there's a little button here where you can start and stop the timer. Clear it, start, stop, clear. So I suppose if you're going to set up a little track, you could do like a time attack kind of thing where you're trying to race each other for laps to see who could go the fastest per lap. I don't know. I don't see that being too useful of a feature, but it is there. It is interesting. And that's what they give you. Weird little nub for your antenna. I feel like that could just be inside the controller, but whatever. This is the controller they give you. Again, $50 RC car costs the same as if you just wanted to, buy this body. We'll be comparing it today to a MR03. This is kind of what your standard Mini Z looks like. Nowadays, there's an MR04, which is the new one. Kind of similar setup. Both MR03s and 04s are being sold at the same time, so you can still pick up one of these things. On a real Mini Z, we do have a shock up on the top here that's actually going to give it some sort of dampening. These are not oil-filled. I guess there's really not a whole lot of dampening specifically, but you can put nice shocks up here in different spring rates and whatever else. The modifications for Mini Zs are unlimited. And yeah, this one's going to take 4 AAA batteries. I do have rechargeables in here. These are the Kyosho brand rechargeables for this car. Independent front suspension, where your springs are on the inside here. And definitely much more well put together. But this is $180. This is $50. So let's put these together. I'll do a little panoramic video of them, and then we'll set up a little track and get them running. With the close-ups, you can see I obviously haven't run this car a while. It's a little dusty. But you can kind of get an idea of how bulky the Mini Z First is versus a real Mini Z. And then if we want to look at the bottom here, the AA batteries also feel like it makes it look way more bulky. But let's set up a little track and let's run these cars. So I'll be going a little bit smaller and more abbreviated on my basement course. So we're just going to use the kind of the circle part here of my drift track and just use some soda cans or some seltzers, I guess, just to do some chicanes and just tighten up the track a little bit so we can get an idea of how fast it is and see if it's actually controllable to be able to time attack around some obstacles. So let's run the Mini Z first. Let's get an idea of how that's going to run, and then I'm going to run it against the far more expensive $180 rear-wheel drive MR03 Mini Z. So let's get the camera set up and let's run some laps. Let's time attack. Yeah. So first thing I noticed before I even drive this thing, that's your steering servo. It is quite loud and seems like it's barely proportional. All right, let's see how this thing drives. I have the controller in the high mode in the back here. The light is terrible, but we're gonna go for the faster mode and see how it drives. Ooh. Ooh. All right, this is not easy at all. All right, let's see. Is the throttle proportionate? Let's see if we get on throttle real slow. Oh, throttle is proportionate. And steering, I think, is supposed to be proportional. Kind of just get full steering. It's really hard to tell. It might just be full steering or no steering. Here, let's put the controller down and set it into the low mode. Oop, I turned it off. Oop, low mode. So this is going to slow the car down a little bit. Whew. I mean, it's slower, but I don't think it's any easier to drive. Ugh. Whoop. I have crashed. This is the hardest RC car to drive. Okay. Let's get the other car out. Yeah, and then we'll talk about them. This is oof. Part 2 of this video, we're gonna run a real Mini Z. I've played with the jewelry a little bit to get the steering down, and I have to say, as probably expected, this is way easier to drive and way more fun. So I think even considering this is so much more expensive, you're actually gonna be able to grow with this. And even at 180 bucks, there might even be better RC cars out there for your first RC car. But Mini Zs are always awesome. If you're stuck inside for the winter and whatnot, these things are the best. God, I can run so much faster laps. It's a little bit loose, and I'm barely using any throttle because the car is obviously a lot faster. See if I can get some speed out of it. No, I can't really. And I crashed. Oh, crashed again. After being able to drive both these cars, obviously $180, $50. Like this is, you could buy 3 of these for the price of this. But I just don't know why this exists. This controller is real goofy. The car controls so poorly that I don't see the point of having any sort of timer on it, because the fact that you can get it around the track at all is amazing. The car itself is, it's terrible. Like, it really just doesn't handle for anything. Also, I realized after the fact that the rear axle it's a spool. It's one shaft all the way through. So even though this car is very slow, it's kind of squirrely in the back end because it's like a welded diff in a drift car. So definitely does not handle well, does not steer well. It's kind of loud and clattery. I don't know why this exists. If you're going to buy one of these, you're probably buying it for the body. So it's really a $0 RC car if you're after it for the body, because it's the same price as just buying the body, which that's still blowing my mind. But who would you buy this for? What is your target market here? Well, if you have a bunch of Mini Zs and you like racing them, and maybe you have a very young son or daughter, or maybe a nephew or whoever who really wants to play with you, but you don't want to let him run your expensive toys, this is a good option if you just want someone young to be able to throw in some AA's and just be able to play with a toy car. Because this is what this is. This is a hobby grade body on a toy car. So it kind of doesn't make sense as far as a company like Kyosho necessarily to be making, but I'm not their marketing department. So it looks great, performs meh. Just spend the $180 and get a real Mini Z if you want a real Mini Z. Unless you're buying this for a young kid. That's it. That's basically the takeaway here. Handles poorly, runs poorly. I've never been more disappointed in an RC car in my life. I'm not here on YouTube to just do negative bashing reviews. This is the first time I've ever actually driven an RC car that I've been so unhappy with. But yeah, Also, the other thing I just remembered as well is that the wheels and tires on this, I believe, are different than they are on any of the other cars. So you can't take regular Mini Z wheels and tires and even put those on here. So if you were to take this body off and you wanted to put it on a real Mini Z, the wheels and tires, I don't know if you can see in the video, one has a nut, one doesn't. I believe these these might be press fit if I remember correctly. They're not going to work. So if you're going to buy this for the body to try to take it off and put it on another vehicle, you're going to have to run a different set of wheels and tires on it, which is real goofy. So with no part support, not being able to change or do anything with this, this is a toy. It's a toy with a hobby grade body. Looks great for my purposes. I'm not upset that I bought it because I wanted the body because, you know, Initial D. You got your Fujiwara Tofu Shop graphics and stuff on it. Really cool. But this is going to be a shelf piece. So if you're into RC, just buy these for the bodies, just for display, just like you would, you know, purchase an auto scale body. Maybe you have an extra case, throw one of these in a case, and boom, you have a $50 auto scale body, and you might be able to get some paint schemes that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. I know they have some like chrome ones and some different things. They have the whole Initial D set, which, you know, it's cool, but that's it. It's cool. There's no other purpose to it. That's it for this video. I was actually hoping that running this car, I'd be like super impressed with it, that like 50 bucks would be awesome, but unfortunately not the case. But definitely an Initial D fan. It's going to look great on my shelf with my other 86 body I have there and a lot of my other Japanese Kyosho auto scale bodies. And that's it. If you want one, buy a real Mini Z. Just these are super fun. They're great cars. They're a little expensive, 180 bucks for a car this big that you're only running, you know, on carpet or tile, or if you have an actual Mini Z foam track. It's a lot of money, but I don't know. I think they're worth it. When you're scaling down parts to work in such a small package with a car that's going to handle and be, you know, proportional steering and throttle and everything and handle well, I think that's going to be, you know, well worth the investment. But thank you for watching the video. Smash that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Give a like, a comment, all that kind of cool stuff. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.